All right, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praise to Yahweh Shem Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the Akim out there spreading this truth like wildfire. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners who look like the other nations, but their spirit bears witness that they're the children of Yahweh Shem Shai. And shalom to the real sisters out there. All right, today I wanted to do live on the subjects of Tom Brady being a speckled bird sellout, meaning he's an Israelite. He's an Israelite for those that have eyes to see it, but he's a speckled bird. Well, he's a speckled bird. He's an Israelite that be likened to the speckled bird. He look like so-called white men, but you go back to our people, like you could tell. You could tell by the way he moves. You could tell, the fact that he's still out there playing football and shit. Like not just playing but being good at it at this age when usually that don't happen, especially with the Edomite. Edomite wouldn't be able to pull that shit. And you do some research into Tom Brady's into Tom where Tom Brady come from. He come from Ireland. His lineage go back to the Irish, and his family. Yeah, and I actually did some research on him. I wasn't. That's one reason why I wasn't. I didn't go live last night. Among many others. But yeah, I did some research on this on his basically his roots, and basically he's Irish. He's Irish, and he actually came from the Irish. He actually came over here during well his family, but his family. We all know that you come back every 3 generations anyway. So well, his father's seed line, his father's seed line or his bloodline actually came over here. The Brady family actually came over here during the famine, during the Irish famine, and which was actually an example of the curses hitting the so-called Irish, which when you do your research into it, they actually come from so-called black people. Like not all, the original Irish was so-called black, and you still have ancestors of them, and that was a case of the curses of Deuteronomy 28 hitting the so-called Irish because they were starving over there. Famine is one of the curses that would hit Yasharallah because our people was going off, so they was being judged. In fact, when you get that, I'm gonna go into this article. And actually, if you look into the cause of the famine, a lot of it was caused by these Edomites that was running the UK. Because even though the monarchy at that time, was headed up by Queen Victoria, which you do research, she's She was an Eve when she was wicked. She was just pretty much a figurehead. Didn't have much power compared to the parliament, which was run by Edomites, and they were oppressing the Irish. And the famine, yeah, the famine. So the famine was actually caused by British policies towards the Irish. And yeah, let me get that. Let me get that. Yeah, it's a lot that was going on that wasn't being being told about, like that they didn't put in the history books, that the British was. But when you do your research, you find it out that the British was doing to the Irish. It was basically a kind of a siege. Let me get this one. And ye shall besiege ye in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trusted throughout all the land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which Yahweh thy power have given thee. These Edomites have always done this shit to our people, one way or another. Or also our enemies, like the Babylonians did that to us. The Assyrians did that to us as well. But these Edomites are the modern day Babylonians and Assyrians. Yeah, so verse 53, and thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and thy daughters, which how thy power given thee in the siege, and in the straightness wherewith thy enemies shall distress thee. Now, hey, that type of shit was probably happening too, because famine that was hitting. Oh, verse 48, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send thee against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke upon thy neck until he had destroyed thee. Verse 20, Yahweh shall send upon thee cursing and vexation and rebuke and all that thou saidest. Hey, even this, verse 18, curses shall be the fruit. Oh, verse 17, curses shall be thy basket and thy store. Verse 18, curses shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep kind. In verse 20, curses shall, I'll just read on now. Verse 19, cursed shall be when thou comest in, cursed shall be when thou goest out. Verse 20, Yahweh shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, rebuke, and all that thou settest thy hand for unto the do, till thou be destroyed, and thou perish quickly because of, of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Forsaken me. Yep. Those unable to prosper. Also something else. The reason why the British Edomites were able to do that was because verse 25, Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And you have something called the Irish diaspora, just like you have the so-called black diaspora. You even have a diaspora so-called Mexicans, because they're not just in Babylon, but the so-called Mexicans in Canada, so-called Mexicans in Europe. Shit, you have different diasporas of these different groups of Jakes. When really, they're all the Israelite diaspora. And you have the Haitian diaspora, I believe. Yeah. You have different diasporas, different groups of Jakes trying to flee the curses. You know, the Irish was dropping dead over there of that famine. Verse 26, and thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air and to the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. You better believe that was happening. Matter of fact, let me pull up some shit on the real cause of the Irish famine. I'm gonna go into that article too, though. Real cause of that shit, cause that was a well, it was a plague also, but also the British were also putting hell upon them Irish Jakes. Oh shit! Article out of Mrs. Institute. British Prime Minister Prime Minister apologized for doing. Tony Blair apologized. Oh, this is from 1998. And yeah, let me get into this article. British Prime Minister Tony Blair apologized for doing too little in response to the Irish potato famine of the 19th century that killed 1 million people and brought about the immigration of millions more, when in fact the English government was guilty of doing too much. Blair's statement draws attention to the question of what caused the famine. Up to now, the popular theory is that the Irish were promiscuous, slothful, and excessively dependent on potatoes. Sounds like some shit they would say about Jake. About hey, that's the type of shit that they say about so-called blacks. You know, they say some similar type shit about so-called blacks and Latinos and natives. As a result, they died by the hundreds of thousands when a blight appeared and ruined their food source in the midst of one of the fastest economic growth periods in human history. Was the potato famine an ecological accident, as historians usually say? Like most famines, it had little to do with declines in food production as such. Adam Smith was right that quote unquote bad seasons cause dearth, but the quote unquote violence of well intentioned governments, according to this devil, right? Well intentioned, right? Can convert dearth into famine. In fact, the most glaring cause with dirt basically means a shortage. In fact, the most glaring cause of the famine was not a plant disease, but England's long running political hegemony over Ireland. You know, and that started when Jake was ruling. We had the eye of the English was turned evil again of the English Jakes. The eye of English Jakes, you know, was because so-called black people rule England too. They was the original Anglo-Saxons was so-called black, but the eye of the original Anglo-Saxons, which were Israelites and so-called black, was turned against their Irish brothers. That's how it started, and that is also one of the curses. You know, verse 54, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children which he shall leave. So his eye shall be evil towards his brother. And that's exactly what happened here. They are oppressing their own brother, they saw them as a stranger. The English conquered Ireland several times, took ownership of vast agricultural territory. Large chunks of land were given to Englishmen. And then what happened is when the Edomites took power during the Renaissance period, when they took control of the UK, of England, and they used the UK, the power they had over the UK to oppress the Irish Jakes and the Scottish Jakes. These landowners and large chunks of land were given to Englishmen. Yeah, hold on, I'm gonna be back. All right, I'm back. These landowners in turn hired farmers to manage their holdings. The managers then rented small plots to the local population in return for labor and cash crops. Competition for land resulted in high rents and smaller plots, thereby squeezing the Irish subsistence and providing a large financial drain on the economy. So basically, oh, that's another one. Deuteronomy Deuteronomy 28 and 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy neighbors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. Because when the Edomites took over, that's what they did. And also, a lot of these landowners that came over there, was also Edomites, because especially after the Black Plague, the Edomites started to, because that was a plague on our people. That's why it was called the Black Plague. The Edomites, started rising in power because there was more Edomites. Population of Israelites had decreased from the famine. Well, not from the from the Black Death, the Black Plague. Yeah, yeah, thereby squeezing the Irish to subsistence and providing a large financial drain on the economy. Because it was basically, hey, verse 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Yo, and also the even when England was being ruled by Jakes, they were treating the Irish like strangers, and they acted like strangers. But Esau took it to a whole different level because he actually naturally has that hatred towards his brother. Esau always had that hatred towards Jake. Land tenancy can be efficient, but the Irish had no rights to the land they worked to or any improvements they might make. Only in areas dominated by Protestants did tenant farmers have any rights over their capital improvements. Basically, yeah, basically, also that Protestant versus Catholic because you had some. Well, that was started by Edomites. Really, if you look at it, but it was to divide Jake because Jake, the Jake, which was the Holy Roman Empire, they was corrupt. They was going off, and so Esau saw that, and they would keep the Bible. They would keep the Bible from the common people, basically. And so Esau took advantage of that. But a lot of the Protestant ideals is the same as Catholics. A lot of it. So Esau was just trying to divide and conquer Jake. And there was Israelite leaders that were Protestant as well. That took their side and became Protestant as well. The tenant farmers have any rights over their capital improvements. But the landlords, oh, but Esau would use that to basically oppress the Irish. He would use that reason because we're Protestant and they're Catholic. Only in areas, I went over that. With the landlords largely residing in England, there was no one to conduct systematic capital improvements. Okay, according to this, was the Edomite site bringing out some info about these English devils. Eventually, you look at it. Hey, Cromwell really caused the downfall of the Irish Jakes. Cromwell, that Edomite, I think it was a 1948 or two. He actually played a large role in it. The Irish suffered from many famines under English rule. Like a boxer with both arms tied behind his back, the Irish could only stand to absorb blow after blow. It took many circumstances of English policy to create the knockout punch, ultimate answer to the Irish question. Yeah, so okay, yeah. They're saying that the Irish was basically they were basically reproducing like bunnies and shit. That's what they were saying. Like what they say about Jake. Yeah, what were the Irish such a promiscuous bunch? The population of Ireland was high, and the island had become densely populated after union with Great Britain in 1801. Part of the population growth can be attributed to basic economic development as population was also increasing rapidly in England and elsewhere in Europe. In fact, the Irish population was only growing slightly faster than the English population. It was starting from much smaller base. But why was it growing faster? Which he's not. This devil's not going to mention is because the Irish were Israelites. He's not going to mention that. But it also, this is what led to also, yeah. But this was also one of the reasons why as well. But he's not going to say it's because they're Israelites. Of course not. These devils ain't going to admit that shit. Let me go on. The answer lies in the fact that England had placed Ireland in an unusual position as a breadbasket for the Industrial Revolution. The British Corn Laws were designed to protect local grain farmers from foreign competition. In 1801, these laws were extended to Ireland. These laws not only kept prices high, they protected against falling prices in years of plenty. The main beneficiaries of this protectionism were the Irish absentee landlords of Ireland, not the English absentee landlords of Ireland, not the Irish. Other words, these Edomites that were moving over there. By 1801, you had like these Edomites had a lot of power in the UK. So basically, hold on. The Irish people were able to grow large quantities of nutritious potatoes that fed their families and animals. The landlords benefit from the fact that the potato did not deplete the soil and allowed a larger percentage. Hold on, I got a stuffy nose. It's fucking with me. Landlords benefited from the fact that the potato did not deplete the soil and allowed a larger percentage of the estate to be the state to be devoted to grain crops for exports to England. It was all going to England, and they basically the potato. It was more efficient for them to grow the potato. Basically, higher prices encourage the cultivation of new land and more intense use of existing farmlands. A primary input into this increased production was the Irish peasant, who was in most cases nothing more than a landless serf. Likewise, the population growth rate did slow in response to reduced levels of okay protectionism in the decade prior to the famine. So basically, that's how they fucked them over because all their resources was going to Esau. It was a disease, and it was Esau oppressing the Irish Jakes. Yeah. Basically the Irish people was not allowed to eat the the food they was producing. Hey, that's the curses. Verse 39: Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. Verse 40: Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coast, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast its fruit. Well, actually, yeah, basically, yeah, because they wouldn't benefit from none of that. Now, this one right here, 48, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck till he had destroyed thee. Yep. Because Esau was taking all their resources. Yeah. Verse 33 and that in 48. Yeah, the fruit of a land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou not knowest eat up, yo. And thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. That was happening to those Irish Jakes. Yeah, got this article which kind of goes into it better. Like that article kind of brings some of that shit out, but there's some shit that don't bring out. Esau is not gonna. Esau's not gonna tell the whole story, Of course. So like I have an affliction. In other words, a million Irish starved for no reason other than greed. Hey, that's Esau though. Esau. What does it say about Esau? Habakkuk chapter 2. Basically, he's as death and can't be satisfied. Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yeah, because he transgresseth by wine, he's a proud man. Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desirous hell, and is as dead, and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations, and heaped unto him all people. There you go. Yeah, so these Edomites they weren't letting them have shit. They're taking everything. Ireland Ireland's economy, quote unquote, had always been made subservient to British interests, quote unquote. Quinnipiac University professor Christine Kinnally said, quote unquote, following the appearance of the potato blight, a number of people in Ireland requested the government to close the Irish ports to keep food inside the country. The British refused to do so on the grounds that merchants would bring food in under free market forces, quote unquote. Of course, it did not happen. So they would continue to take their shit, even though they were starving. Author of several books on the Irish potato famine, including a graphic young novel for young adults on the subject entitled The Bad Times, Keneally is also the director of the Great Hunger Museum in Connecticut. I contacted her to find out exactly what happened in those weak days of starvation, mass exodus, and how the systematic forces behind the great tragedy may still be in play today. Because hey, those Edomites are still in power. "Quote unquote," potatoes were only one of the crops grown in Ireland and accounted for approximately 20% of agricultural produce. "Quote unquote," Keneally said. Quote unquote, Ireland produced large amounts of other foodstuff, mostly for exportation to Britain. So basically, and the potatoes was the only shit that they was being allowed to eat too. "Quote unquote," on the eve of the famine, for example, Ireland was exporting sufficient quantities of corn, wheat, barley, oats, etc. to Britain to feed an estimated 2 million people. Clearly, Ireland was producing an agricultural surplus. Yeah, Slovakia. Yeah, so Ireland was. So it wasn't that they wasn't producing much. It wasn't that they had a shortage like what Esau tried to make it out. Esau would try to tell you that they had a shortage. Nah, like nah, Esau was taking all the most of the resources from the Irish Israelites, and then they blame them. And they blame them, regardless, quote unquote, regardless of the wealth of the British Empire, repeatedly refused to use its resources to either effect structural changes or alleviate food shortages when they occurred. "Quote unquote," Keneally said, explaining how the Irish Great Hunger was not an isolated incident. "Quote unquote," famines occurred periodically in both Ireland and India in the 19th century, which India, that's so called the East Indians are majority, well, a lot of them Elamites, but you have Jakes scattered there too. In both countries, the rulers in London blamed the indigenous poor for their own poverty, creating the myth that they were lazy, socially backward, and uncivilized. Which that's what they accused Jake of being. They that shit. They say that the most about Israelites, about so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and hey, the speckled birds as well. So basically, I wanted to go over that famine real quick because because basically that's that was a part of the curses that hit the Irish Jakes, and it was being caused by Esau, and how it connects to this subject of Tom Brady being a Jake or Israelite is that's when his family came over here, so they fled the famine to come over here to Babylon. The Irish that came over here, especially during that time period of the famine, especially during that time period, a lot of those were Jakes. They are discriminated against. They were discriminated against heavily in Babylon, America, in Babylon, which is America, and and uh, and the UK, and other places they went, but especially those two places. Yeah, yeah. So let me get to this article, Irish Central article, which is about irishcentral.com article, which is about Tom Brady being so-called Irish. And all right, let me get into it. It's time again to look at the feminine Irish heritage of the greatest quarterback to ever don a football jersey and perhaps the greatest American athlete ever. When California native Tom Brady was drafted by the New England Patriots, he had no connections with Boston. As far as his family knew, they had been based in the Bay Area for generations. However, it transpires Brady is a direct descendant of family immigrants from Ireland who landed in Boston during the height of the Great Hunger and scraped out a new life for themselves in the Massachusetts capital. And that's where a lot of these family Irish went to. Boston, New York, and Philly and shit. The Patriots legend's great great grandfather John Brady left Ireland in the mid 19th century and found work as a laborer in Boston. He soon married Bridget Bailey, also a refugee of Ireland's great famine Slovakia, and the two set about creating a family. So they came basically. They came to Babylon to have basically start a new life and shit. Basically make it out the curses. Basically. Just like you have Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, Zebulon, the so-called Central Americans, a lot of them coming over here to Babylon trying to escape the curses over there. You know, the civil, or the yeah, the curses over there hitting them, thinking they're gonna make it over here, and then they get oppressed over here. That's the same shit that was happening to the Irish, and it still happens to the Irish Jakes. But the more melanin you have in your skin, the more obvious your oppression is. Basically, the more open your oppression is. That's how Esau do it. The Patriots legend, great. Yeah, okay, yeah. According to census records, the couple had two children in Boston, including a son Philip, who's Tom Brady's great grandfather. Although Philip's birth certificate is not available, a registry in the Massachusetts archives shows that his younger brother Henry was born in 1857 in the family's home on First Street in South Boston. The Boston Globe reports that Tom Brady's father had previously stated that his maternal ancestors came from Ireland during the famine, but now amateur genealogist Jim McNiff has found the first public evidence that Brady's father's paternal lineage extends deep into the history of Boston. He's so-called Irish as well, through his dad's side, which is that's the side that matters. McNiff, a retired hospital financial manager and college professor from Burlington who has made a hobby of researching family histories, based his findings on census reports, birth and death certificates, cemetery plots, municipal employment records, new articles, and original research conducted by other uses of Ancestry.com. So, how did the quarterback's family end up in California? Sometime before the Civil War, John and Bridget Brady left Boston for the West Coast because they was trying to escape the curses that was hitting them there, and that's what Jake does. Jake tries to flee the curses. That's why it says in Deuteronomy 28:45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. Verse 46, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. All right, hold on. I'll be back. All right, shalom, shalom. I'm back. Yeah, so basically, yeah, they came to California basically to escape the curses and to make it rich, basically. So among those miners that a lot of them was Esau. You had speckled birds as well. All right, so basically, shit, it's getting dark in here. Hold on. All right, so basically, yeah, I was showing the history of Tom Brady's family and also that he come from the Irish that came over here after the famine. I was showing how that fit the curses hitting the Irish Israelites. And basically, Yasharallah tries to escape the curses, but the curses always catch up. And also, hey, the fact that he's still in the game and still at the level he is, I know the NFL's rigged and shit, but Esau always uses Jake. And the fact that he's still in the game at this at his age and shit, and after being in the game for that long, that's in let me get that a precept that show you that even that show you that he are people, because Genesis 25 and Genesis 25 and 23. And Yahweh said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Like, hey, Edomite couldn't pull that shit off. It don't matter. It don't matter if what kind of witchcraft or whatever the Edomite does, man. You can't fake Jake. You know, you can't. Like, is it? Nah, like, Esau has tried. You can believe me. Esau has tried, but you can't fake Jake. You can't like, hey, you can't do do exactly what a Jake do or whatever. Because there's people that say that as well. That the NFL's rigged and he do witchcraft. That's why he's good. But both of those but both of those, but that don't mean shit. Basically, that don't mean shit. You have Israelite celebrities that do witchcraft and shit. Are they not Israelites? Oh, you have yeah, these celebrities. That they're all juiced in. They all juiced in. They all participate in those rituals. They all do witchcraft shit. The fucking weekend, man. Shit, Jay-Z, shit, all of them. And Tom Brady, he 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 goes against teams with full of Jakes, full of so called black people, original looking Jakes, and plays alongside so-called black people, original looking Jakes, and he still excels. He still stands out. And what does it say? Well, what did Yahweh Shai call our people? The light of the world and the salt of the earth. Let me get that. Because if you're a Jake, like, you're gonna stand out for your talent and shit. Like, you're gonna stand out. Like, let me get that preset. Like, hey, let me get that preset. Show you what I mean. Let me get the salt of the earth preset. Salt of the earth. Matthew 5:13. And the elect are the salt of the when it comes to Yasharallah, but Yasharallah the salt when it comes to the rest of the nations. It's twofold. Matthew 5:13. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost its flavor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. Because like a brother had brought out, well, I think it was an elder actually that brought it out. Salt actually brings out the flavor in whatever food you're eating. Actually brings it out, and that's what Jake does. And you see the way he does it. He's not the way he moves. It's not like he ain't got no salt either. Verse 14, you're the light of the world. And whatever Jake does, they put their mind to it, they're going to excel at it. You're the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. So there you go. There you go. Like, a city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. You just can't. You can't hide. Hey, Jake is gonna stand out. Whether wherever he's scattered, he's gonna stand out. Because Jake got that zeal, right? So whatever he sets his mind to do, whatever his dreams and aspirations are, like, he's gonna do. He's gonna like put his whole spirit into it, basically. Just like whatever he believes in, he's gonna whatever philosophies or religion he believes in, he's gonna put his whole spirit into it. Whether it's like going off or not, or if he believes, if Jake really believes in this truth, they're gonna put their whole spirit into that as well, you know. Yeah, this Tom Brady basically he said something like that. All I really want to do is win, right? What's it quote by this? Yeah, cause it was a quote by this dude. Yeah, I think it's a quote by this dude. It's a quote that said that. Yeah, I think that at the start of the game, you're always playing to win, and maybe late ahead in the game, you start playing not to lose. The true competitors, though, are the ones who always play to win. You know, some people might think I'm doing this, oh, because I was a fan or some shit, but I wasn't even. I never went for any teams that dude was on. You know, so it ain't even nothing like that. You know, sure the apostles I'm sure Apostle Tahar when he brought that out, when he said that Tom Brady is a Jake, you know, I'm sure he was doing it from an unbiased perspective. You know, he wasn't saying it saying that because he's a fan or whatever. Nah, he's saying it because Spirit bears witness. You know, you got that assault. You know, like there's ain't no way he could be Edomite straight up. Shit. And just cause just cause he a Trump supporter don't mean shit either. Cause you have a lot of Jakes. You have a lot of Jakes down here in Texas. A lot of you have a lot of Northern Kingdom Jakes down here in Texas. A lot of so-called Mexicans that hey they look down on their brethren from across the border, and they look down on Judah, and they support Trump. They support Trump. You know, they swear they Esau. They swear they Esau, but really they Issachar. They Issachar. They going through the curses and everything. They just look down on their brothers. And also a lot of them, yeah, they think that they look down on their own brothers and basically they're trying to protect what they got in Babylon and shit from their own brothers. And because Esau's taught them to look at them as the threat. And also they believe that also a lot of them, they're so-called Christian. They got that zeal about being so-called Christian, and they believe that the Republican Party. They believe that you gotta basically support the Republican Party and Trump and them to really be a so-called Christian, since the Democrats they support abortion and shit, which is going off, which is wicked. But the Republicans are just as wicked, but they don't see that. Hey, if Jake is gonna support a political party, Jake is gonna be a Republican, Democrat, or conservative or liberal, they're gonna like be that shit. They're gonna be zealous about that shit. They're gonna rep this shit, okay? And they're gonna be like hard headed about that shit. Like it's gonna be hard to convince them. And 2/3, you won't convince them. They're going off. So like I'm dealing with an affliction. Yeah, I'm dealing with an affliction. Salakia. All right, so there's that. Yeah, there's that. Just wanted to go over that since the apostles and other brothers have been going over that. And some people don't understand why the apostles say that Tom Brady's a Jake. So I had to go over that real quick. But the other subject I was gonna go over is Esau needs to go ASAP. Hold on, I'll be back. Gotta do something first though. Alright, Shalom, I'm back. Alright, so one of the brothers posted a video basically bringing out, hey, what kind of abominations these devils are doing and why they need to fucking go. And let me get that video. Fucking Esau. You're gonna see why these devils have to, like, if you don't if you don't already realize that they have to go, you should come to this conclusion after this video. This fucking bitch. Fucking Jezebel. Like, she's so It's from that brother. It's a video from that brother, new song Nigeria. It's a GMS brother out there in Nigeria. He posted a video of this Sheetamite bitch. Basically, she thinks that she can replace a man by having kids using the bone marrow. Basically, and the offspring would be all women. Basically, Esau needs to go because he pushed out that feminism shit. And so now these women are thinking that they don't need men for shit, even having a offspring when the seed comes from the man. And that's in this is why this devil need to go, man. Let me get some precepts on this devil. Matthew 24, yeah. Matthew 24 and 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Like, these women think that they can basically cut us out of the picture because of what Esau has been pushing. But hey, Esau was actually pushed this out with bone marrow babies idea. The babies would probably come out retarded or some shit like that. They would probably come out like disabled in some way. Even if this were technically possible, they would probably come out fucked up because it's not natural what they're doing. And Salakia, dealing with afflictions. Let me get that turning of things upside down. Get that precept. That's what this devil does. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. Let me get it. Because this devil, he likes to flip shit. He likes to take what the Most High Yahweh has made and basically change it to something else. Like whatever the Most High Yahweh made, it's basically he says that he didn't make it right. He didn't do it right. Basically. Isaiah 29 and 16, surely your turning of things upside down shall be, well, let me get 15 because, 16, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay, for shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not, or shall the thing framed of him say of him that framed him, he had no understanding. Yeah, I've been on for 1 hour and 30 minutes. I was tired last night. I was dealing with shit, and I didn't have much to bring out when it came to Tom Brady, so I was like, I'm not going to do it right now. I'll just wait till later on. But yeah, he's a Jake. His spirit bears witness. He's still out there doing what he's doing. Been doing it for 20 years. And he's not trash like an Edomite would be. Seven championships. Shit, that's a lot. Even if the NFL is rigged, they use Jake. And it's teams full of Israelites. that he's going up against, and he's still doing good. I mean, hey, niggas are coming up against Apostle Tahar for bringing that out that he's a Jake. There was a scoffer that was talking shit, hating. Hey, if you got precepts on them, and bring them precepts out. Bring them precepts out, Akia. So I was going over that, and then now I'm going over how Esau Edom, how he basically turns things upside down. This fucking devil. This devil is something else. He's telling women that they can have kids without men using their bone marrow. This fucking devil, man. You got Shesaw. You got Shesaw in the video talking about bone marrow babies. Yeah, bring out some precepts, Akia, on these fucking Edomites. Fucking devils. Also, yeah, gonna bring out some precepts on them, and then because I basically went into Tom Brady being a speckled bird, and you Jakes, man, you fucking carnal as hell, talking about he can't be a speckled bird, cause so one thing they like to say is because he kissed his son when Apostle Gabar basically exposed all that, and it was exposed in the comment boards. It was exposed that he was that he basically that logic exposed as flawed. Cause cause there's plenty of celebrities that do that shit. Will Smith kissed his son in the mouth. Is Will Smith not a Jake? Jake will say anything to scoff at the truth. And that's really because he was judging based off the color of his skin, basically on his outward appearance. That's why Jake will say anything, but that's right. Let me get that. Wait, hold on. Gotta take care of something real quick. My phone is on some other shit right now. Hold on.